Sweep Out, the Broom Boom Countdown. This is a spoofic by Miro Polo. A spoofic is a type of a science fiction. Found out more about the term spoofic at the end of the video.
Sweep Out!
6th episode. My New Life XXL. What happened until now? My name is Alf and I have been employed for many years in an open plan office at the World Institute for Astronautics, Space Research and Space Policy. My job is, or rather was, to equip spaceships with fully automatic cleaning machines. Until now, August 2094. But what was happened? My employer wants to save money on the fully automatic cleaning machines in spaceships. The Space Institute's original idea was to let astronauts clean themselves during flights with a broom, mop or vacuum cleaner. Devices whose useful life expired sometime 100 years ago. This triggered protest action by the astronauts and escalated when the interplanetary garbage disposal astronauts threatened to go on strike. Quick side note, in 2093, 98% of the non-recyclable trash was dumped on the moon, so the world was on the brink of a trash chaos. The actions attracted worldwide media attention and I found myself caught between the fronts, because I was supposed to prove the cleaning with brooms, scrubbers and vacuum cleaners still works today or again today. The Institute organized a large press conference for this purpose. Briefly about the result. The success fell short of expectations, which prompted my employer, the World Space Institute, to change my employment contract. Well, not immediately, but too radically. A week ago, it was officially announced, I will be the cleaner on the next space expedition.
Sweep Out!
Boah, that may have been a shock. And this is how it continues. Episode 6. My New Life XXL. There are people who would like to be known and famous and do a lot to achieve this, sometimes questionable things. I know for sure now, these people don't know what they are doing. Only if they are very unlucky does it work and they became really famous. From the moment I received information about my participation in a space expedition, I was a public figure, a person of public interest. And this means that there is a legitimate public interest in information from that person's privacy. And that in turn means that that person may be photographed, the material distributed and published without their consent. I felt this aspect of my new life immediately. The number of broadcast vans on the Institute grounds had multiplied. The otherwise well-kept lawns around the Institute buildings gave the impression of overcrowded campsites. And yet there was no one to be seen there. Why? Because all the available personnel were after me. I was in a constant flash of flashes, seeing myself on the morning news and on front pages. I was followed on car journeys and a camp of reporters from all over the world has set up in front of my house. In addition, my bosses were probably as surprised as I was by the level of public interest, which is why there were hardly any measures taken to protect me. At least my boss Potter gave me the number of the Public Relations Department's advice call center.
Sweep Out!
In the few days since I changed jobs, a huge number of posts had appeared about me. The image that was conveyed of me there was surprisingly different than at the beginning of the affair, and completely different to the image I had of myself. I believed I had failed the first time when it was a matter of communicating the Institute's cost-cutting measures in a positive way, and the second time when I had to prove that brooms, mops, etc. can actually be used in spaceships. But that hardly played a role in public perception. The real excitement was that astronauts were willing to create trash chaos just advance their interests. Astronauts who were considered privileged, earning very well, and enjoyed a lot of recognition. Suddenly the question was asked whether this recognition was still justified, whether society had not recruited an elite that was now turning against it. A story began to take hold, particularly on social media. Namely that an office worker who bravely volunteers for an experiment to save the world from garbage chaos. The global correspondent, the world-renowned online magazine, wrote about this in an article.
Have we ever understood the experiments that astronauts performed during their flights, stays on other planets and in space stations? Do we understand why we need images of the universe in the microwave radiation range? Or how and why we need to observe cosmic phenomena in the gamma radiation range? Have we ever understood the search for antimatter and dark matter? No! But Alfred Mayer's mission is understandable for all of us. He does what our mothers meant when they said, "Clean up your room!" And besides, he saves us all from the arrogance of a privileged group of astronauts who have made it very clear that they don't deserve their privileges.
And on the evening news on a TV station I heard,
Alfred Meyer can already claim one credit. He saved us all from the catastrophe that the entire professional group of astronauts was prepared to instigate without a care in the world.
Sleep out!
well, as I said, somehow the story had taken on a life of its own. My whole life had already changed, and the next day everything changed again. When I glanced through my kitchen window that morning to see how best to get past the paparazzi crowd on the way to my car, I saw police cleaning my property and the path in front of it and guarding my house related. But that's not enough. A little later, I got a call that at first seemed like a fake. I shouldn't come to the office in my car, but should wait for a limousine to pick me up. Wow! But that wasn't all. When the limousine pulled up and I left the house, I was immediately escorted by 2 bodyguards. The distance between the photographers and me had increased significantly.
Sleep out!
When I arrived at the institute, I noticed that similar security measures had been taken here. Cameras only from a distance, and the area was cordoned off and cleared. When I entered the entrance hall of the institute, a young woman greeted me. She informed me that I was expected by, listen, the General Directorate, and that she would accompany me there. And a short time later, I found myself at a table with the top executives of the Space Institute. The general manager, whom I had rarely seen up close, greeted me and thanked me for my willingness to test our new cleaning equipment on flight 11/31. 11/31, that was the name for the space expedition I was supposed to take part. Yes, he was really talking about new cleaning equipment and meant brooms, scrubbers and accessories. Then he calculated what savings this would mean for the space program in the next few years, and a group of top managers nodded respectfully. He introduced 2 gentlemen, whom he described as experienced advisors. They would accompany me in the weeks before the flight and coordinate my training. He spoke of a Plan A and listed activities that would now take up most of my time before the flight, including media training, media appearances, training on the 11/31 mission, and a part he called general preparation. It was only much later than I realized that this description in no way did justice to the real scope of the measures. After the meeting ended, I was escorted to a room in an area of the building that had special security requirements. My new office, which I would share with the 2 consultants until the expedition began. The 2 of them were called Mick and Jim, and they were always in a good mood and behaved as if they were in a long-term job interview. Every word was chosen, her wording flawless, her demeanor perfect. To be on stage, they called it. And the first thing they made clear to me was, from now on I too would always be on stage. There were 3 workstations in our new office. And mine, in particular, was full of paper, storage devices and data storage media. Mick took off his jacket, rolled up the sleeves of his shirt twice, threw a disk into a playback device, pointed to a screen and said, "This is the schedule for the next few weeks." The document was entitled Plan A and roughly contained 50 individual points, most of which I didn't even understand the names of at first glance. "Now," said Jim, "we are going to have a medical check first. It must be clarified that you are fit for fly." "Otherwise, we have to look for a doppelganger," added Mick and grinned. That was probably supposed to be a joke, but I wasn't sure. Mick listed what points were still on the program today. It took a few minutes. "Hey, when do I do my work in the equipment department?" I asked. The two gave each other a half astonished, half annoyed look. "Not at all," Mick shouted. "This is your work now." There was no time for further questions. I was picked up for the health check. When I got back, Jim got a call on his cellular. He listened carefully, confirmed everything with an "okay," and finally said to Mick, "All right, Plan A as planned."
Sleep out.
No, don't ask for Plan B. I didn't either. Instead, look forward to the next episode in which I will tell you about a mysterious general preparation. Until then, take care, and if you don't want to miss the next episode, subscribe to the channel. Thank you and bye!